We are ready to begin in Acts chapter 12 this morning. Uh, so let's just get right to it. Acts chapter 12, verse 1. It was about this time that King Herod arrested some who belonged to the church, intending to persecute them. He had James, the brother of John, put to death with the sword. When he saw that this met with approval among the Jews, he proceeded to seize Peter also. This happened during the festival of unleavened bread. After arresting him, he put him in prison, handing him over to be guarded by four squads of four soldiers each. Herod intended to bring him out for public trial after the Passover. So Peter was kept in prison, but the church was earnestly praying to God for him. King Herod. Which king is this? Well, there are many different Herods. And I thought it might be useful if we had some sort of visual aid to understand.
Can I have two so I can take one to Joanne?
Oh, are you out by Joanne?
Well, small groups, yes.
Oh.
She says one thing she didn't like about not being here, she didn't get like the list last week.
Yeah,
So I said, well, I'll get you a copy, but
it's snowing.
Which I emailed to you.
I got it, thank you.
We got the hail, but
It was snowing when I
it's
left work.
snowing,
It was just 4 miles that way, it was snowing that half an hour ago.
so.
And you did show up.
It is snowing. It was raining at our house earlier, but not snowing, now it's, good evening. Alright, you know, you go past the bridge and it's still something different. How do you get to church? I go out on this road. Yeah. Or outside and go out to.
All right, so you have this chart in front of you, which is the family tree of Herod the Great, because we keep seeing Herod mentioned as we did our study in the life of Jesus, and we still see more Herods here in the book of Acts. So I know you'll never be able to read this, but there it is. I'll post the link to it in the notes. So Herod the Great reigned from 37 BC. And we read about him in Matthew 2. Herod the Great is the one who ordered the death of the children at the time that Jesus was born. He was also the great builder of all kinds of things. So you can see that he was married almost as many times as Elizabeth Taylor, but not quite. He had 6 different wives, Doris, 2 Mariamnes, Malthace, and Cleopatra. Actually, that's just 5. And then you can see below all of his children by these various wives. Some you have heard of before: Antipater, Alexander and Aristobulus, Herod Philip I, Herod Archelaus, Herod Antipas, and then Philip II. Then if you follow Aristobulus down, you see more Herods. Herod of Chalcis, Herodias, and Herod Agrippa I. Herodias is the parent of Salome, which is someone we read about. The thing I liked about this chart is that they had the texts where they're referred to in scripture already written down there. We read about Salome in Mark chapter 6. And then we also get to see Herod Agrippa II, Berenice, and Drusilla also mentioned in the book of Acts. So the Herod that we're looking at today is smack dab in the middle of the chart, Herod Agrippa I, who reigned from 41 to 44 AD. And we read about him here in Acts chapter 12, verses 1 through 6. So he is the grandson of Herod the Great. We read about Herod Antipas, who called for the beheading of John the Baptist, who was also the same Herod who sent Jesus back to Pontius Pilate and was complicit in Jesus's death. We've said Herod Agrippa I ruled from 41 to 44 AD. And the arrangement was for the Herods that they served at the pleasure of the Roman emperor. So they were like, some commentators call him a client king. They're really sort of, they end up being more like the governor, maybe, or the president of a specific territory. Um, their main function was to maintain peace where they ruled. So Herod Agrippa I is his job is to maintain peace in Judea, which he does from Jerusalem. We'll read about him some more at the end of the chapter.
Which
Uh,
one said kind of John beheaded?
that is Herod Antipas. So um yeah, right over there to the right, up and to the right from Herod Agrippa I.
So him and the Herod next to him had overlapping.
Yes, because they ruled. So that's another thing that is not, they could have put on here. They ruled in different territories. So like Herod Agrippa I was the king in Judea, in Jerusalem. Some of them were up around Caesarea Philippi, and they had different territories that they were overseeing. The Herods are a disaster. They really are not a nice bunch of people, full of all kinds of jealousy and conspiracy, and perpetually looking over their shoulders to see if their father was going to have them killed or not, because that happened often. So, all right. The other name that we read about there early on is James.
Can I ask another quick question?
Yes.
All but one of the children stops after the children. Is that, did they die or did they just not put that on here?
I believe it could be some of both. It definitely is true that some of them were killed by Herod.
The kids?
Yes, he killed his own kids because he was afraid they would overtake him.
Nice.
Yeah. Actually, not very nice, but
Yeah.
typical for him. If you've seen the musical where, what's his name?
King Henry?
Where Puss in Boots is Herod. Um,
Jack?
yeah, Puss in Boots, the guy who is him.
Oh, Banderas.
Antonio Banderas, where he plays Herod, and the guy from For King and Country is his son.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the sort of psycho, crazy, anxiety, overwhelming fear. I believe they nailed that. I believe that's absolutely accurate. The Herods did not rest easy ever, because they were always trying to kill each other. All right, James, that is mentioned there in verse 2, is James, the brother of John, the son of Zebedee, one of the sons of thunder. He is the only disciple, the only apostle that we read about their martyrdom in the New Testament. The belief is that all but one of the apostles died as a martyr for their faith, wherever they happened to be. John, James's brother, lived to be a very old man on the island of Patmos in exile. But his brother James is the first of the 12 to be killed for his faith. It says that he was killed by the sword, which means that he was probably beheaded. I read a deal a little bit ago. I didn't have time to put it into my notes, but there is an old tradition that when James is brought before um, before Herod, he talks. He gives his explanation of what he's done and why he's done it. He presents the gospel, and one of the soldiers there is so moved by it that he immediately becomes a believer, confesses that he is a Christian now too. And so Herod has both of them executed right there on the spot. I don't know if that's true or not, but there is a long-standing tradition of that. Now, what's the reason that's given there for this decision made by Herod? What's he trying to accomplish?
Looks like it says it pleased the Jews.
And made the Jewish leadership happy. He's a politician. He wants to make sure that he has good support from the people that he is ruling over. And so he saw that arresting James made them happy. Beheading James made them even happier. So he's on a roll. I'll arrest Peter too. They will love me if I keep this up. So it's all for political expediency. He is not opposed to the Christian faith, apparently, but he really wants to make the Jewish leaders happy. Again, if one of his main roles is to keep the peace, to keep everybody content in his kingdom, then you would understand a little bit easier why he would why he would do that sort of thing. Peter is in Jerusalem because he came back after having been in Caesarea. You'll remember that he went to Caesarea. He performed the miracle of raising Dorcas in Joppa. He went to Caesarea, had this experience with the centurion and all that household, and now he's come back to Jerusalem to explain to the rest of the church why in the world he's baptizing Gentiles. And so he is still there in Jerusalem after that trip, and that's where Herod finds him. He has him arrested during the festival of unleavened bread. In case you don't remember what the festival of unleavened bread is, let me refresh your brains. For 7 days every year, the Jews would eat no leavening. They would remove all traces of leavening from their home. So no yeast, nothing that would make the bread bubble. It's an image of purity. Yeast is often a symbol of sin and how evil grows in you. And so for at least 1 week a year, they remove all the leavening from their diet and their homes. It follows the feast of Passover. So you have the Passover on one night, and then for the next 7 nights, there's no yeast in your home. You can read about that in Leviticus 23 if you'd like more details about that.
And it started at sunset yesterday. In 2026, according to AI Google. I looked it up a minute ago because I didn't know what it was. It says it runs from April 2nd to 8th.
Yeah, there was a suggestion that we should do a Passover memorial this evening. It's like, I think we have too many things on the calendar this week. But it is an interesting thing to see how the life of Jesus and the death of Jesus are intertwined with the Passover meal. It really is very interesting. If you've not seen Christ and the Passover from Jews for Jesus, you should find that. You will learn a lot from it. We will do it again here at some point.
Yes, question. Passover was here. That was a Friday, right? And then we have Saturday, then we have Sunday. So then we have 4 more days of unleavened bread. Even after Christ's resurrection, we're still celebrating with 4 more days of unleavened bread. Unleavened.
Yes.
I never know.
A whole week without leavening in your diet and your home.
Didn't stop to sell.
Let's see here. So Peter is being arrested during the same time of year that Jesus had been arrested. So Jesus was arrested at some time in the night after the Passover meal. If you believe that the Last Supper was Passover, and I'm inclined to believe that. We don't know exactly how much time has passed since the resurrection. That there's not a lot of timestamps in the biblical text. But we do know that if Jesus was crucified somewhere between 30 and 33, Herod reigned from 41 to 44. So it has been somewhere like 8 or 10 years since the resurrection of Jesus that this is occurring. It would have been really nice if there was a way for Luke to include some fixed dates. But Peter is arrested, and he has 16 Roman soldiers that are ordered to stand guard with him in prison. A guard consisting of 4 soldiers. This was the typical number. If you had a prisoner, two guards would be chained to the prisoner, and 2 would stand outside the cell. And then the duty roster would rotate I forget how long, every 3 or 4 hours. There were, I think, 3 different watches during the night. And so as I was reading this, there was a little hint of a song in my head that goes back to the Wayback Machine in Christian contemporary music. Amy Grant sang a song, "Angels Watching Over Me," and she tells this story almost like word for word. I considered playing it for you all, but I don't know if that will necessarily happen. So there are 4 sets of 4 soldiers that would be guarding him through the night. He's chained up, shackles on both arms. He's not going anywhere. And so what Luke tells us is that the church was earnestly, fervently praying to God for Peter. Actually, the Greek sentence in order is, prayer was fervently being made by the church to God for him. That prayer is the first part of that phrase, emphasizes its importance, because they could have said the church was really praying for Peter or something like that. But Luke puts prayer first. Word order means something in the Greek language. So they really are reaching out to God. The verb that Luke uses, that's what it means, reaching out or reaching up. They're really calling out to God on Peter's behalf for something. It's not clear exactly what it is they're praying for, but they are praying on Peter's behalf. So the situation is pretty bleak for Peter. He's been arrested before. This is not his first time in jail, but this is maybe the scariest event so far. He's been arrested. He is under lock and key in a prison cell, surrounded by Roman soldiers. He is awaiting trial and almost certain execution. He knows that James has already been killed. It's not good. But the way that Luke says it is, but prayer was fervently being made by the church to God for him. In this very dark, scary, uncertain moment for Peter, the church was really passionately praying for Peter. He may have been in prison, but the church was actively praying for him. I believe that if there's any sort of a lesson in that for us, it is that when things are the bleakest, do not fail to pray, because God can change things that seem certain. Because it is almost without question that when the morning comes, when sun rises, Peter will be killed. Passover will be over. The Sabbath will be over. He won't be defiling any Jewish laws. He can have Peter killed, and everybody will love him for it. Peter is a dead man walking at this point. Any questions or comments? In case you happen to be watching this at your leisure, the snow is coming down like a blizzard outside here on April the 2nd, 2026.
I brought you moisture.
Just the heavens are weeping.
Acts chapter 12, verse 6. The night before Herod was to bring him to trial, which was a joke, Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, bound with the two chains, and sentries stood guard at the entrance. Suddenly, an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the side and woke him up. Quick, get up, he said, and the chains fell off Peter's wrists. Then the angel said to him, put on your clothes and sandals, and Peter did so. Wrap your cloak around you and follow me, the angel told him. Peter followed him out of the prison, but he had no idea what the angel was doing, what was really happening. He thought he was seeing a vision. They passed the first and second guards and came to the iron gate leading to the city. It opened for them by itself, and as they went through it. When they had walked the length of one street, suddenly the angel left him. Then Peter came to himself and said, now I know without a doubt that the Lord has sent his angel and rescued me from Herod's clutches and from everything the Jewish people were hoping would happen. It is hard not to love Peter. I read through that section and just think, man, he is just like everybody I know. He is not very complicated. He's a simple man. He's a man of great faith, at least by this point. But sometimes he just cracks me up. So it's the 0 hour. It's not, the dawn is coming. And in the morning, he's going to be tried and found guilty. He'll be executed. Luke paints us a picture. Peter is in the cell. His arms are chained to a guard on each side. They have gotten him partially undressed. He's probably just in his, his undercloak. The soldiers are apparently sleeping. The guards outside are apparently sleeping. And I suppose it makes sense because he's chained up inside a locked room. He's just a preacher. What's he going to do anyway? So everybody is sleeping through the night. And so the angel is watching over Peter, and God sends this angel. Now, the word angel just means messenger. there would be some people who remove the divine component here, and they just believe that some regular messenger from the church has come somehow, busted into this cell, gotten past two guards, didn't wake up two more guards, and somehow sets Peter free in the middle of the night.
Through the gate that opened by itself.
Yes.
Although
With chains that opened by
it
themselves.
does not say, do not be afraid or fear not.
True.
Maybe.
Well, it's because he had to wake him up.
Oh, that's right, get up quickly. He poked him or said he struck him on the side.
So this angel appears, this messenger from God appears in the room. There is a comment about the light. We've said before, like the heavenly dress code is always bright, brilliant, shining, brighter than bleachy white. So he's radiating this glory of God. The room is full of it, and Peter still doesn't wake up. So the angel has to put his hands on him, shakes him awake. Hey, get up. We got to get up. We got to get moving. What he says, it's a shame Cody's not here because his translation probably would hit it better. What he says is, get up, gird yourself. Do you know what it means to gird yourself? No.
But around, wrap that.
So
Yeah.
so if he's wearing his long tunic, everybody would wear some kind of a sash or a belt around their waist, because you don't want it blowing all over the place. You want to keep it close and tight. Plus, it's a nice place to tuck stuff into. Your pocketbook, your cell phone, all those kinds of things are right there in that sash. So the angel says, "Get up, wrap your belt around your waist, and get moving." Then he says, "Put on your sandals, grab your cloak. We're getting out of here. Follow me." All the while, all the people who are supposed to be watching Peter are incapacitated in some way, whether they're knocked out or sleeping soundly or frozen in time, or however God worked it out. They are not awake. And so we get to verse 9, and it's kind of funny to me. Peter isn't sure that what he's seeing is real. Maybe he's just dreaming all this. Which is not an unreasonable assumption, because Peter just a chapter and a half ago was seeing these incredible visions from God. So, okay, well, I'm having another one right here in jail. It's not until the chains fall off, the cell door opens, he gets past both of the guards stationed at the gate, he gets down the street, and the angel disappears, that he looks around and goes, I must be awake. Oh my gosh, this is real. I just think that's kind of funny. The thing that is also clear is that Peter understands that everything that has been planned for him by Herod was all done for the benefit of Herod's relationship with the Jewish leaders. He is being used by the king to stay in the good graces of the Jews. He is a political pawn. Peter didn't do anything that was worthy of arrest, and certainly not execution, except it makes the Jewish leaders happy. So he understands, as my friend used to say, how the cow eats the cabbage. Any comments or questions before we move on? Herod is kind of related to the Jews.
Edomite.
It's an Idumean. Yeah, so you go back to like Jacob and Esau. He would have been, a far distant, super far distant relative. They would have shared ancestry through Isaac, but yeah, he's lived amongst the Jews. He's ruled over the Jews. He knows the Jewish laws. He knows the Jewish customs. Some of them he probably even follows because of where he lives, but he's not really Jewish. Verse 12. When this had dawned on him, he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John, also called Mark, where many people had gathered and were praying. Peter knocked at the outer entrance, and a servant named Rhoda came to answer the door. When she recognized Peter's voice, she was so overjoyed she ran back without opening it and exclaimed, "Peter's at the door." "You're out of your mind," they told her. When she kept insisting that it was so, they said, "It must be his angel." But Peter kept on knocking, and when they opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. Peter motioned with his hand for them to be quiet and described how the Lord had brought him out of prison. "Tell James and the other brothers and sisters about this," he said, and then he left for another place. Okay, first question is, who is this John called Mark? Okay, this is a Jewish man. His Jewish name is Ioannes, and it's the Greek version of it. He's John. Mark is his Latin last name. We find out later that he is a cousin of Barnabas. So there is a little family connection there. And this John Mark is the one who will be the author of the gospel, Mark, which is usually understood that John Mark wrote down all of Peter's stories. So he is getting it from much of his gospel from firsthand accounts from Peter. Much later on, Peter will refer to John Mark as his son. That's in 1 Peter 5:13. And we'll see later in the book of Acts that John Mark goes along with Paul on his missionary journeys. So this is kind of a significant place, and that's another sort of a piece of the church's story unfolding right there. When Peter realizes that this is not just a dream, he hightails it to a place where he knows he'll be safe. He goes to Mary's house, where he will see John Mark. And again, I think this is kind of funny. Peter is outside. Now think about what he's been through. He has been set free by God through an angel in the middle of the night. He is supposed to be executed in just a few hours. He's roaming the streets of Jerusalem. I'm assuming, as I would be, looking over his shoulder, trying to figure out if somebody is following him. So he gets to this house. He's knocking on the door. "Hey, hey, anybody in the house? Let me in." I mean, it is probably the wee small hours of the morning, before sunrise when this occurs. The servant girl, Rhoda, comes to the door, clearly a big solid door that she can't see through. "Hi, who's there? Who's knocking?" "Oh, it's me, Peter, let me in." Like, "Peter who?" "Peter's in jail." "No, it's really me. It's Simon Peter, let me in." Like, "Oh my gosh, it's Simon Peter." She runs in to tell everybody that Peter is at the door, forgetting that he is locked outside. While while old Peter is still, looking all over the place, knocking on the door. "Hey, come on, let me in. It's Peter. It really is me. I gotta get in here. They're gonna come and find me. Let me into this place." It's a sort of a. I'm sure it was not funny to him, but it's sort of uh, funny to watch it unfold here. It is not difficult to imagine that he would be more than a little uncomfortable standing out on the street, knowing that there is a price on his head, then he should be executed in just a couple hours. Now, There's not a lot more to say about this couple of paragraphs. The church has been praying for Peter, but I think there is a lesson for us in the response of the praying church inside Mary's house. Luke has told us that they are praying with great passion, with great fervency. They are really, really praying hard. And this has been going on for hours. Okay. I don't know what it is that they've prayed for, but they were really praying hard to God for Peter. And so there's a report that Peter is at the door, and their response is, "You're crazy. That's impossible." I think there should be a lesson, some application for us in that. I wish I knew what they'd been praying. Maybe they have only prayed that the Lord would receive Peter's spirit at his execution because everybody believes it's going to happen, or that Peter would bravely and faithfully approach the executioner's sword, that he would be faithful all the way to death. Maybe it's never occurred to them to pray for his release. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. We don't really know. But it would seem like they're surprised by the fact that he might be released and standing at the front door. So the only thing that they can think is that this must be Peter's angel. And that phrase bothers me some. Because of what I believe about angels and ghosts and spirits. It would be hard for me to believe that the church thinks that if Peter has died, that he has become an angel. Maybe they should have used the word spirit or ghost. I don't know. The commentaries all would indicate that they believe that this is Peter's guardian angel. I don't know why that makes anything better or easier, but they believe that it cannot possibly be Peter himself in the flesh, that something as bad has clearly happened, and that's who is at the door. But they do finally open the door, and when they do, they can't believe what they see. The NIV says that they were astonished or astounded. The Greek verb means that they are standing beside themselves. Their mind has been blown. Like, I cannot believe this. I am totally gobsmacked and flabbergasted by this. Ah, 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 ah. And so Peter bursts in the door, and what does he start doing? He tries to get him. He tries to get them quiet. Like, hey, don't make. Shh, shh. Yeah, it's me. Shh, 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 shh. He's trying to make sure that they don't wake up all the neighbors, because clearly, if Peter knows enough to go to this place, it's a house where he spent a lot of time before anyway. So I wonder what's going on over at Mary's house. Poor old Peter, he got himself arrested. Maybe they're all crying because he's dead. That I don't know what kind of things are going on in the city, but Peter wants to keep everybody quiet. He lets them know exactly what has happened. He goes over all the details with them, and then he tells them to tell the rest of the church family, the rest of the brothers. NIV has brothers and sisters. It's really just brothers in Greek, but that always is indicative of a mixed group. When you know it's a mixed group, it's not. He's just telling the church family what has happened, and James. Now, which James? Because James, the son of Zebedee, is dead, and he knows it. It's not James the Less, who was another one of the 12. It is probably James, the half brother of Jesus, who has become a leader in the church in Jerusalem after the death and resurrection of Jesus. His brothers did become believers. Um, James certainly did. He is the one who writes the epistle of James, the letter of James in the New Testament.
How
And
many years after Christ arose?
somewhere between 8 and 11, probably.
Is Mary somebody besides just somebody named Mary? Or it's just Mary?
She is another one of the Marys.
Okay.
That name.
Yeah. Very popular.
Well, John, James, Mary, Simon. I mean, apparently their baby book name list was not very long.
Herod.
You're naming everybody after a dead relative. So
There's names you can't even write.
well, aren't you glad that there's not a lot of Zerubbabels and Lo Ruhama and Mahershal Hashbazes in the New Testament?
Yes.
So he goes over all the details. Make sure you tell James, who's the leader of the church. It's the same guy that Paul came and visited, Saul still came and visited a few chapters back after his experience in Damascus. He came to Jerusalem, met with Peter and James. This is the same one. And then after this little quick exchange, Peter takes off because there is most certainly going to be a search for this wanted criminal. And he is going to go hide in some much less conspicuous hiding place. Because if Herod was smart enough to find him once, 2 days ago, he's smart enough to find him again. So Peter just took off for another place. Verse 18. In the morning, there was no small commotion among the soldiers as to what had become of Peter. Yeah, I bet that's right. After Herod had a thorough search made for him and did not find him, he cross-examined the guards and ordered that they be executed. Then Herod went from Judea to Caesarea and stayed there. He had been quarreling with the people of Tyre and Sidon. They now joined together and sought an audience with him. After securing the support of Blastus, a trusted personal servant of the king, they asked for peace because they depended on the king's country for their food supply. On the appointed day, Herod, wearing his royal robe, sat on his throne and delivered a public address to the people. They shouted, "This is the voice of a God, not of a man." Immediately, because Herod did not give praise to God, an angel of the Lord struck him down, and he was eaten by worms and died.
Forgot what that took.
Okay, so why is this here? I don't really know. Some of it seems like it's kind of gratuitous. Like, okay, so Herod was full of himself and he died. I suppose Luke feels like he needs to finish the Herod story. Herod finds out that Peter's gone. He calls for a thorough search. I don't think that verse 19 probably does that search justice. I don't think it was, hey, everybody look around. You see him anywhere? Nope, he ain't here. No, I think it probably was, for the better part of a day, going to all of Peter's places, going to the temple courts, any place that Peter might have gone. I mean, they're looking for this fugitive. You don't just go outside and look down the street. Well, I don't see him. He's long gone now. No point in us looking. No, I believe this was an intense manhunt. He brings in the guards who were on duty, and that squad of 4 soldiers ends up executed because they let this prisoner escape. And it is sad because it wasn't their fault. They didn't do anything that any other soldier would have already done. But again, I feel like we ought to try to learn something from what we read. So here's my note here. Number one, don't sleep on the job. And number two, if you find that your detainee has disappeared, you had better do the same thing. And then, so Luke finishes this section with details about the end of Herod Agrippa I, showing that great political power really doesn't amount to much in the long run. Now, I find it incredibly interesting that Josephus, who was the very well-known historian of the Jewish people, made a report of Herod's end. I'll just read it all to you. It's obviously not in the Bible. This is an extra biblical account. So just listen. Josephus says, now when Agrippa, Herod Agrippa I, had reigned 3 years over all Judea, he came to the city Caesarea, which was formerly called Strato's Tower. And there he exhibited shows in honor of Caesar, upon his being informed that there was a certain festival celebrated to make vows for his safety. At which festival a great multitude was gotten together of the principal persons, and such as were of dignity through his province. On the second day of which shows, he put on a garment made wholly of silver, and of a contexture truly wonderful, and came into the theater early in the morning, at which time the silver of his garment, being illuminated by the fresh reflection of the sun's rays upon it, shone out after a surprising manner, and was so resplendent as to spread a horror over those that looked intently upon him. And presently his flatterers cried out, one from one place, another from another, though not for his good, that he was a god. And they added, be thou merciful to us, for although we have hitherto reverenced thee only as a man, yet shall we henceforth own thee as superior to mortal nature. Upon this, the king did neither rebuke them nor reject their impious flattery. But as he presently afterward looked up, he saw an owl sitting on a certain rope over his head, and immediately understood that this bird was the messenger of ill tidings, as it had once been the messenger of good tidings to him, and fell into the deepest sorrow. A severe pain also arose in his belly, and began in a most violent manner. He therefore looked upon his friends and said, I, whom you call a god, am commanded presently to depart this life, while Providence, capital P, thus reproves the lying words you just now said to me, and I, who was by you called immortal, and immediately to be hurried away by death. But I am bound to accept of what Providence allots, as it pleases God. For we have by no means lived ill, but in a splendid and happy manner. When he said this, his pain was become violent. Accordingly, he was carried into the palace, and the rumor went abroad everywhere that he would certainly die in a little time. But the multitude presently sat in sackcloth with their wives and children after the law of their country, and besought God for the king's recovery. All places were also full of mourning and lamentation. Now the king rested in a high chamber, and as he saw them below lying prostrate on the ground, he could not let himself forbear weeping. And when he had been quite worn out by the pain in his belly for 5 days, he departed this life, being in the 54th year of his age and the 7th year of his reign.
5 days eaten by worms.
He said, wouldn't it take a little while to be eaten?
From the inside out, it sounds like.
Maggots. Yeah.
I would guess that somewhere along the way that good King Herod got a hold of some bad pork or something, and was full of worms, like trichinosis or tapeworms or something, and they flourished, and it ended up killing him.
Does pork get trichinosis?
It's not cooked. Well,
I don't even know about rabbits.
So I think it is awesome that the story from the New Testament in Acts chapter 12 about the death of Herod Agrippa is exactly in keeping with what an outside historian wrote about the death of Herod Agrippa I. Now, granted, Josephus gives us more detail. Why do they call him God? Because he's wearing this shiny silver suit, and the morning sun hits him, and he just glows. I mean, imagine if, the president walked in into the press room in a shining gold lame suit. Yeah. He's, oh my gosh, he's divine. He is sent from God. He is God. And that's what the people there are doing there. They really absolutely believe that he is divine. If the emperor is divine, Herod must be too. And because he did not stop them, and he didn't say, no, 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 I'm just a man, which we've seen Peter do already in the book of Acts. Don't fall down and worship me. I'm just a man. I'm not God. He said that to Cornelius back in chapter 10. Herod did not pick that up, and so it cost him his life. Then there's two more verses left in Acts 12, 24 and 25. But the word of God continued to spread and flourish. When Barnabas and Saul had finished their mission, they returned from Jerusalem, taking with them John, also called Mark. So we've seen Herod, who was great and powerful, believed a lot about himself, who did not grow and flourish. He grew and died. He died a miserable death, alone. But the church that he tried to exterminate, at least to decapitate the church, continues to grow and flourish, day by day, week by week, month by month. The word is spreading. We probably have forgotten already that Saul and Barnabas came to Jerusalem specifically to bring gifts from Antioch down to the people of Judea and Jerusalem who were in a drought. So they have brought food, they've brought money to buy more food. They've distributed it among the believers in Jerusalem. And so Luke lets us know that their mission is complete, and so they're taking back to the road. They're going to travel back north to Antioch, but they are also going to take John Mark with them as they go. So ends Acts chapter 12. Questions, comments, smart aleck remarks?
Josephus made it sound like Herod at the end realized that the people were wrong by calling him a god, and he was wrong by not saying he was a god. Is that what you read?
Most people typically realize when things get really dark and really awful that they have made terrible mistakes. There's great regret and great remorse. I should have said it, but I didn't, and now it's too late. I believe that there was some way too late realization of his mistake. It is interesting that Josephus says that the people prayed to God that he would be spared, but that was clearly not the plan. Well, we will pick up here with Acts chapter 13 when we get together the next time. So if you want to mark it right here, Shelley, stick your paper clip and your ribbon right there. You'll be in the right spot. If you happen to be watching online, I'd love to hear something from you. Make a comment, ask a question. Hopefully you're being blessed by this study of the book of Acts like we are.